Joining me now, Nomi Conste, Democratic strategist and Sanders supporter, and Maria Cardona, a Clinton supporter whose firm currently does work for a pro-Clinton super PAC, and she's also one of those all-important super delegates. Maria, first to you. So there's been some criticism that Hillary Clinton is not only not in New York this weekend ahead of the primary, but she's attending this fancy high-profile fundraiser where some people have to pay 6 digits to get a ticket. What do you say to that criticism?
Well, what I say is let's look at what that money is for. Let's be very clear that that money is not going into her coffers, because as
that's not true. Some of it is going to the Clinton campaign.
As a candidate, she can only accept $2,700 from individuals. So the rest of that money is going to raise money for the Democratic National Committee, as well as 32 state party committees who are dedicated to ensuring that Democrats get elected to the House, to the Senate, to state legislatures. And frankly, if I were Bernie Sanders and if I were really thinking that I'm going to get elected president, I would be more concerned and committed and dedicated to getting Democrats elected, because there are no other socialists running. So getting Democrats elected, if I really want my political revolution to not be dead in the water when I get to the White House. So he should actually be helping Democrats a little bit more.
Hold that thought, because one of the people hosting this fundraiser is George Clooney, and he spoke to Meet the Press. I want to take a listen to what he said and then get your reaction on the other end.
Sure.
Let me start with dinner you co-hosted on Friday night. Big fundraiser I know that you have planned for later tonight. Do you look at how much is being raised? And I think the co-host of the Friday night dinner, $353,000 a couple to be a co-chair. Do you look at it yourself and think that's an obscene amount of money?
Yes, I think it's an obscene amount of money. I think that, we had some protesters last night when we pulled up in San Francisco, and they're right to protest. They're absolutely right. It is an obscene amount of money. The Sanders campaign, when they talk about it, is absolutely right. It's ridiculous that we should have this kind of money in politics. I agree.
Okay, so Maria, does that contradict what you said before?
No, absolutely not. I completely agree with him. I think most Americans agree with him. Certainly most Democrats do. Hillary Clinton agrees with him. It is an obscene amount of money. But guess what? Those are the rules that are in place. So let's do something about it. Let's get Democrats elected. Let's make sure that we are able to put in a Supreme Court justice that is able to overturn Citizens United. Let's get money out of politics, and let's focus on making sure that we underscore democratic values and are out there being able to fight for middle-class families and working-class families, which is exactly what Hillary Clinton is doing. And by the way, it's working since she's winning at the moment.
So Nomi, I'm going to bring you in because Maria is saying, look, this is the way it is. I mean, this is basically what you have to do in politics. Bernie Sanders has taken a different tack. But do you think in some ways he's at a disadvantage by not taking the path that Hillary Clinton is with these big fundraisers?
Not at all, actually. He has been able to raise record amounts of money. He's changed the way presidential politics has been run for the past 30 years. He has made it the People's Party again. The Democratic Party used to be the People's Party. And somewhere in the early 80s, we decided to change course. And in order to keep up with the Republicans, to have an arms race with the Republicans, we started raising money and really selecting candidates that had name ID and the best ability to fundraise. And that's built an ecosystem in the establishment where people are invested in the business of fundraising and the candidates, and not as much of the ideas. And so what Bernie Sanders has been able to do is say, you know what? We don't need to do that anymore. We have the internet, we have the power of the people, and we are going to collect these donations of $27. And he's doing that with congressional candidates too. He's already sent out 3 congressional fundraising emails for Lucy Flores in Nevada, Zephyr Teachout, and they're raising record numbers of contributions at this point. So there's a way of doing this outside of the typical way, and it's more honest, because if you're not going to take money from these super PACs, if you're not going to take money from the lobbyists, which the DNC just changed their rules to reflect Hillary Clinton's needs, and Barack Obama and Joe Biden still won't take the lobbyist money for the DNC, if you're going to take that tainted money, there's obviously going to be some expectation for that. And even Barack Obama wrote about that in his own book.
All right, I want you both to react to something Bill Clinton said on the trail about Bernie Sanders supporters. Take a listen.
One of the few things I really haven't enjoyed about this primary, I think it's fine that all these young students have been so enthusiastic for her opponent and sound so good. Just shoot every third person on Wall Street and everything will be fine.
So, Naomi, you can criticize Bill Clinton for a poor choice of words here. But what about the sentiment that Sanders' support is fueled by playing up the villains without offering enough substantive solutions?
Well, it's just not true. I mean, it's very easy to look up his tax policies and his financial policies. Over 360 economists have endorsed his tax plan and his plans. They're on his website. He talks about them ad nauseum in detail, and even in the New York Daily News interview, which the Clintons like to use in condemnation of the Bernie Sanders campaign. He even went in detail there, so much so that the New York Times fact-checked it the next day and said the New York Daily News editorial board was wrong, they don't understand economic policy, and they should retract it. So, you know, this is something that, unfortunately, the message machine out of the Clintons, they've been trying to paint him as this guy who's an idealist, but the reality is he understands that he sat on the board of countless institutions. He is the only congressional member to ever have introduced a financial reform bill, which was last year in the Senate, and that's something that Democrats really want. I mean, what's going on is that the Democratic Party lost its way. We have become more about keeping up with the Republicans, and by the way, we are not winning. So Maria says this money is being used to win. We're not winning Congress, we're not winning at the state level with the legislators, and we're not winning the Senate. So,
and we're certainly
clearly
not
that strategy is not working.
I want to get just kind of on what Naomi...
He's raising that money, Maria. That's not true.
Kind of on the heels of what Naomi is saying, you know, Reince Priebus came out and said that Hillary Clinton would be easier to beat. Basically, he wants a GOP candidate to face Hillary Clinton instead of Bernie Sanders. What is your response to that?
Oh, my God, of course he said that. I mean, it is so painfully obvious. It's like when I say I think Donald Trump is going to win and that he would be easy to beat, because I think Democrats want to run against him more than anybody else. Why? Because we do think he would be easier to beat. The Republicans are salivating to run against Bernie Sanders because they are afraid of Hillary Clinton and they believe that he will be easy to beat. Period. And in fact,
but he's beating all the Republicans right now, and she's not in the national polls.
Well, and you know why, Naomi? How many negative ads have Republicans run against Bernie Sanders?
But here's the difference. One response.
She has lived through 30 years of negative Republican ads, and she's still beating them. That's not an excuse.
That means she's a bad candidate, and you chose a bad candidate.
No, as Wolf Blitzer said during the Democratic debate, if you're both talking over each other, we can't hear what you're saying. And I'm really sorry. I feel like the bearer of bad news, but we have to move on. Naomi Kahn, Maria Cardona, the good news is I'm sure we'll have you back on.